So the first question is, we shall hear this. I'm afraid to go back to work, but I know we will be going back to school slash work.
Okay. Interesting. I feel you there. I feel that there. Maybe what can you say about this?
My short answer is yes.
And yes, the long answer is
The long answer is okay. So there's a lot of assumptions going around here. But for me, if I were coaching this person, it would go back to, so what's the choice that you want to make? Because there are many, I mean, even me, right? I've received offers to do face-to-face workshops, and so far I've been hesitant to accept.
right.
It all boils down to what choice you want to make and how you want to honor what's important for you.
No, I'll jump off what Lippy said there, and I think that's really the crispest, most direct way we can answer that. And I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what your priorities are. And I guess if we were to dig in a bit deeper, I would likely ask a few questions. Like you mentioned here, I'm afraid to go back to work, but I know we will be going back to school or work. I think one of the questions I might ask is, where is the feeling of going back to school or work coming from? So, for example, to be more specific, have you been told that on a specific date, the expectation will be for the team to start going back to the office physically? I think at the end of the day, the reality is, I think all of us are eagerly waiting to have the option, at the very least, to go back to the office, or for students to go back to school physically. I think the question would be, is it mandatory? And therefore, what is making this a concern, I think, would be the broader question to ask. What is making this a concern? Are there implications attached to not going back to the office or school physically? So I think I would start there. And then that's where I'd start evaluating, okay, what are my priorities? And on the other hand, where is the fear, or where is the apprehension for going back to school or work physically coming from? And of course, the broad answer is likely going to be COVID-19.
Yeah.
But really, so what about it? I started out by saying I feel you, because I think I understand where this is coming from, but I would say I have my own considerations, and it's very hard for me to tell whether they're the same for everyone. And I think it pays to become specific and concrete about what those concerns are. And maybe just to close on this part for me, I would also ask, what would it take for me, therefore, to become comfortable about going back to the office or going back to school physically? What am I waiting for? What am I looking for? And this is not a criticism. It's more of to be clear about what it is that will make it sensible, reasonable.
It's awareness, right? It's not
Yes,
criticism.
it's a sense of awareness.
It's more of developing awareness, or in this case, what might make it a bit more comfortable, or what might convince you that it's okay to go back, right?
And yes, and I
Yes.
think that's really coming from the time may come when the real world objective concerns are gone, and yet the anxiety, the apprehension, the feeling remains. And so, as Lippy put it, that sense of awareness, I think, will help us then, because at some point we will have to move on. And I can't prescribe what moving on means. But if going back to the office or going back to school physically makes sense to us in the future, then I think it would make sense to understand for ourselves what will make it comfortable enough for us to consider that.